It is completely undeniable. MSU loves cultural Marxism. This is Undeniable with Sergei Kelley. Here I'll highlight news among which is reported, things that weren't reported, and further information on indoctrination and leftist bias at Michigan State University. So you're probably wondering, what even is cultural Marxism? In the easiest sense, it is Marxism applied culturally. Whereas Marx, he believed that power rested in the hands of those who controlled the factors of production. Proponents of cultural Marxism believe that power rests in the hands of those who control the cultural institutions. These institutions are academic, entertainment, and government. So how does this even relate to MSU? Simply in that the overwhelming and disgusting perpetuation of leftism is furthering, and many times successfully, the goal of cultural Marxism. And the goal was drafted by its creators, also known as the infamous Frankfurt School, which in short saw the inability of Marx's ideas and the move towards socialism largely fail and make headway in the lives of the American people because they were so largely resistant. And much like today, unlike Europe, America has generally more traditional conservative set of values. In the Frankfurt School, they knew that they had to explode the American social fabric. If they did this, then the application of progressive and socialist measures would succeed, and it would be death to America and the end of the last best hope for freedom on earth. As we see at MSU and across America today, cultural Marxism goal is to divide individuals into groups, murder and corrupt traditional family values, and to dispel a moral public. For example, the Morning Watch last week reported a story called MSU Panel Slams Whites, MSU for Stolen Native Land, reads apology statement. At the event, high-toting professors played the narrative that the U.S. is founded on white nationalism, racism, and genocide, and the stealing of native land. And the U.S. was founded on neither of these. Yes, it is true and sad how some Americans, notably Andrew Jackson, related to some native tribes, but the violence against natives and from natives was not a characteristic of much of the founding era. Peace and land treaties were signed, there were more native attacks against settlers, and even the Northwest Land Ordinance of 1789 stated, "The utmost good faith shall always be observed towards the Indians and their lands, and property shall never be taken from them without consent." And even if you disagree, the main point is not whether or not those professors are right at that event, but is that their use of that language and the use of that narrative falls right into cultural Marxism. And keep in mind, cultural Marxism is exclusive. It is designed to replace. The other story the Morning Watch reported on this week was called Guest Professor Gives MSU a F for Equity, Discusses Racism in Schools. His whole thing was about how racism is persisting in schools and how there needs to be more talk of race in classrooms. Both of these narratives, a horrible and bad American founding and the persistence of racism, play into two false narratives. First, it helps to silence our founding, to make it all evil. Now how does this help? If Marxists and progressives can make America's founding a story and a tale of pain and misery and hate, then it discredits the point of the founding. Then they can slide their foot in the door and save us with a better plan. The other narrative, promoting the widespread belief of racism in America, helps them to divide individuals into groups. We don't think about this division, seemingly harmless, but it is widespread. College applications, standardized testing, etc. The more they can assert social groupings based on color or appearance, then they can insert the narratives of haves and have-nots. They can turn groups against each other. The guest professor from California suggests better training in racial literacy for classrooms. That will undoubtedly be a time for addressing all the wrongs whites have done to blacks and so-called minorities, and the whites' need of enlightenment, but probably not much about the racism from blacks on whites or the many wrongs that blacks have done to other blacks. So just to reassert, these two events, so far claiming a horrible American founding, and the widespread racism problem fall into the narrative of discrediting what makes America great, and fall into the method of dividing, then turning people. And this is perpetuated by academics here at MSU, and whether they know it or not, it helps cultural Marxism and the death of America. And one last mention from the guest professor's deeply misguided claims. He mentioned the domestic terrorism against Native Americans, which certainly inexcusably happened. But he somehow either forgets or can't remember that Native American tribes had been fighting and killing each other for thousands of years before Europeans had even arrived. Furthermore, weren't the attacks by Native Americans against Southern homesteads and towns, especially when peace had been negotiated, another example of domestic terrorism? What do you think? Comment with your thoughts below. You might be thinking, just 2 examples? There are just extreme examples, and that whole cultural Marxism thing isn't going on at MSU. Bluntly put, you're wrong. First, the Morning Watch has over 50 stories and that are directly tied to leftism, propagation of cultural Marxism, and let me just read some articles and stories and events coming up this week and ask yourself if it's leftist. First, MSU has placed cultural appropriation boards around campus with guides on how to not be racist in your Halloween costume. An article is coming soon on that, and there is a picture for reference. Another is understanding pronouns, lunch, and learn. Also, another this week is drag queen storytelling in McDonald Hall. And furthermore, another event MSU will be paying for and hosting a dinner with speakers in Holmes Dining Hall cafeteria for National Coming Out Day. Now, I'm super excited for when they host National Conservative Coming Out Day. That'll be great. But MSU is definitely less welcoming of conservatives. All these events and stories, with I'm sure many more to come, are actively promoted, paid for, and advertised by Michigan State University, in either recognized or unrecognized quest of cultural Marxism. On another note, going back to the article, MSU panel slams whites, MSU for stolen land, reads apology statement. In that apology statement, it says, and this plays right into the cultural Marxism narrative, it says that MSU it shouldn't be called a pioneer land-grant college. They say it's problematic to be called a pioneer land-grant college. And obviously that plays right back into the narrative. And with that story and all these events coming up, these aren't just different ideologies. It's a leftist ideology, one that is crippling and will kill America. While Iran chants death to America, the domestic threat in America presents a serious problem that has not been addressed or properly dealt with. Well, this video has been insightful and gives you more information into cultural Marxism and the dominant and unwelcoming leftist culture at Michigan State University. And in short, MSU does love cultural Marxism. This has been Sergei Kelley with The Morning Watch. Subscribe below to The Morning Watch channel and also to our website, The Morning Watch. Also, follow us on social media on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to stay up to date with the dominant and unwelcoming culture at Michigan State University.